There was some disagreement about what that set should look like. When I talked to Cosby, he had a completely different idea in mind than what Carsey Werner and Jay Sandridge had in mind. Jay Sandridge was the director. Theirs was much more middle class, not low class, but middle class. Okay, and I came back and I said, well, he's talking about something real different than what you're talking about. So they kind of left me alone, and I remember a long time ago somebody said, when you're not sure about something, go with the money. And so I went with the money. And so I went to this, this brownstone in New York, and some antiques, but not a lot. And I kind of went exactly the direction that Cosby wanted to go.
Which was more than just middle class, right?
Oh, yeah.
More upper middle class, right?
Much more than that. A nice brownstone and, some nice art on the wall and, a fairly nice looking place. So we built this set here, and I shipped it back to New York. We were down, at that time, we were having real problems finding a sound stage in New York that was big enough to hold a sitcom. Because most of the stages in Manhattan are small, and there's a few more studios now there that are available. But the only other one that was anywhere near size was Kaufman Astoria, which is out in Queens, but it wasn't available. So the only stage that was big enough for the Cosby Show was an NBC studio in Flatbush, which is almost down to Coney Island. It's way down in Brooklyn, and so that was a studio that we went to, and it was like being in, you might as well have been in Timbuktu, because it was so far from anything. It was built, I think it was built as an old silent film studio way back in the 20s, but it was big, and they were doing, there was two stages. They were doing was it Another World, or one of those soaps down there, and so we went down there. It was very difficult to work down there because it was an hour's drive from Manhattan, where everything was. There's no is there like a Home Depot around? It was nothing, It's like an extraordinarily Orthodox Jewish neighborhood. So on a Jewish holiday, everything closes. It was very difficult to work down there. So we went down there. We shipped the set in, got it all set up. And I remember Jay Sanders comes in and goes, "Oh my God, this is too nice. Oh my Lord, this, oh my God, they're rich, blah, blah, blah." And Tom and Marcy are not saying much, and I'm like sweating bullets. I'm going, oh my God, So when Cosby comes in, when you have a kind of an important set, he comes in and everybody kind of gets away from the set, and he literally walks around quietly, and he looks at every single piece. He looks at every picture. He looks at every piece of furniture. He studies, because he's such a brilliant man. He knows antiques. He knows all this stuff. He really is a smart guy. And I'm like, it's like the longest 10 minutes of my life, because he's like walking around. He's looking everything, the sofa, the rug on the floor, everything, okay? And I'm thinking, oh, Lord, because, like Jay's like going, oh, he's not liking it at all. And we're all kind of sitting there, and he walks over and he looks at me and he goes, "It's exactly right." And that was the last I ever heard about that set. It was exactly what he wanted.